Hi there, and welcome back to Free to Pursue. My name is Hélène Massicotte, and today I bring you another book review. The book in question is Your Money or Your Life by Vicki and Dominguez. The book is a cult classic in the financial independence community. Financial independence meaning that it is an option whether or not someone works. They are independent enough financially not to have employment. And so, the book is perfect for anyone interested in pursuing financial independence. The readability for this book is medium. There was obvious attention put to layout and structure of the book. And there are some helpful visuals and personal stories throughout the book that help maintain a reader's attention. I found the book both inspiring and entertaining. What I liked about the book is that it challenges us to redefine our relationship with money and work. And I think that we have a number of unstated certainties in our society today that just say, well, you need money to get a bunch of stuff and you work for 40, 50 years until you retire. And this book challenges that notion. It challenges the idea that we need to give away such a big chunk of our time. And to help us change our perspective, the book has 9 clear steps to help modify the way we view the use of our ultimate resource, which is time, from the status quo to the idea of financial independence. And the authors do that by addressing the psychology of money as opposed to the traditional steps toward proper money management. And I really do believe, if you have seen some of my other book reviews, that to me, the psychology of money is far more tied to success than the mechanics of money management. So I am a very big believer in the message behind this book. It's well written. I really appreciate the message and think a lot of people could benefit from it. And that is why this book got 5 stars. There's only one thing I didn't agree with in this book, and it may very well be because of the initial timing of the release of the first few editions. It is that we should invest in treasury bonds, and the return on those bonds is not all that great, although it is extremely safe. But really, that is such a minor point that I kind of feel silly mentioning it. As I mentioned in the overview, this book is really about changing our relationship with money, and that includes our relationship with how we view our time and how we view the expectation or need to work. And as I mentioned as well, the book has 9 clear steps. And if you want a bird's eye view of those 9 clear steps, you can head to the epilogue on page 295, at least of the edition I read, to see the summary of those 9 steps that the authors guide us throughout the book. Along with the 9 steps, the authors use a very simple graph to help us understand the move from simply saving a certain amount of money to increased financial independence. And it is a graph that I even personally used to track my progress in this area. And the graph helps map our behavior and our progress toward the ultimate goal, at least according to the authors. And the goal is to have investment revenue displace earned revenue to a point where it matches our savings, which means we have reached financial independence. And the goal is having investment income that matches our expenses, which means we've become financially independent. There are really 3 main parts in the book in this journey of first starting from 0 to reaching financial independence, and they're as follows. The first step is building a clear understanding of where we've come from. what our past has been in behavior and what we have to show for it. The second step is to get a clear sense of where we are today. And that means evaluating the magnitude and quality of our current spending. And the third step, I'm sure you've guessed it, is measuring where we're going and how far along we are toward that ultimate goal of financial independence. So let's take a look at each one of these 3 steps. The authors have a very interesting way of assessing or helping us assess where we've been. And what the authors want us to do is take a look at all of our earned income in our lifetime and determine where we are with all that spending compared to our net worth. And our net worth is calculated by taking a look at all of our assets, fixed and liquid, adding them up and seeing what the total is, minus any outstanding debts. And the final step in this is to take all of our earned money over the years and compare it to our net worth. Whatever is less than the net worth is what we have essentially used up all this time and energy in making that money, and we've used up that money. It can be really eye-opening and even, to be quite frank, a little painful. For a quick and dirty way of figuring out your earned income throughout your life, you can, in the US, log into your Social Security account online and see your approximate lifetime earnings. Now, once we have gotten over the shell shock of step number 1, we get into step number 2, and that is evaluating our expenditures. We need to evaluate the magnitude of our spending. We need to take a look at our monthly spend and get a sense of where the money is going. More importantly yet, we need to know what we're spending money on and whether it's adding quality to our lives. In essence, are we really better off for having spent the money we spent? And if we're truthful, there's a whole lot of money a lot of us tend to spend that has to do with impressing other people with flashiness, as opposed to having anything to do with increasing our overall happiness. And if you want to understand what spending is most correlated to happiness, I really recommend the Happy Money book from Elizabeth Dunn and Michael Norton. Here's a quote to bring the second theme in the book home. Other people's expectations don't make you buy stuff. Television doesn't make you buy stuff. Your thoughts make you buy stuff. Watch those suckers. They're dangerous to your pocketbook and to a lot more. Page 194. Now, once we have a really good idea of which monthly expenses add quality to our lives and which ones don't, the authors encourage us to eliminate the ones that don't, or to repurpose that money toward expenses that do. And that can do a lot to increase our life satisfaction. Case in point, when I was working in corporate Canada, I did the tally, and this book, I'm sure, was part of my reasoning to take a look at how much working was actually costing me. Well, to work in a professional job, I ended up spending $26,000 a year just to basically maintain appearances and to enable me into this job. And $26,000 a year after taxes is a big chunk of change. I almost fell off my chair once I was done with that tally. It was significant, and doing that kind of a calculation is a real eye-opener, saying, am I really making that much more money if I have these expenditures to just be part of that game? It certainly gave me a lot of food for thought. And the third major step, or somewhat a theme of the book, is that measurement of self-sufficiency. In the edition I have, that graph is on page 241. There are 3 things the authors invite us to track: what our income is on a monthly basis, what our monthly expenses are, and how much of our income is coming from investments. And as you may have guessed, we have reached the goal once that investment income exceeds our monthly expenses. Now, just to define it properly, to keep that graph in context, earned income is any income made from working. Monthly expenses captures all expenses that we incur during the month. And then finally, investment income is income that is passive. There is no work involved. It's our invested money that is working for us and providing a return. I absolutely loved that graph. It ended up on my closet door for months. And to see the progress over time was very powerful. It was motivating to stay on track, and it definitely led to some behavior changes. It's a very strong visual reference. Here's a second quote from the book. Financial independence is an experience of freedom at a psychological level. You are free from the slavery of unconsciously led assumptions about money, and free of the guilt, resentment, envy, frustration, and despair you may have felt about money issues. Page 55. The bottom line for me is that Your Money or Your Life is a powerful book that should be part of everyone's lifetime curriculum. So far, the various editions of this book that I have seen include some suggested readings, and there are definitely some titles that I would highly recommend, and they are as follows. The Overworked American by Juliet B. Shore, The High Price of Materialism by Tim Kasser, and Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. That is another book review that I highly recommend you take a look at. I will link it right here. And another reference that I obviously endorse because I talked about that book earlier on in this review is Happy Money by Elizabeth Dunn and Michael Norton. Findependence Day by Jonathan Chevreau. Thank you for joining me today for another book review. I hope you enjoyed it. Have you read Your Money or Your Life? If so, I would love to hear what you think about it down below. I would also love to hear other books that you would recommend along this theme. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, but for now, take care.